Grabbing the boards like, I'ma go coast to coast. I'm on beats like do-si-do. They don't wanna go toe to toe. Step into my court, you get put in the poster. We ain't talk to nobody if you ain't with the smoke. Run up on me, watch your ankles get broke.
Yo, what up, it's your boy JDMC and we back with another video. What I want to do today is just talk about the Clippers and break down certain things about them and if I think they're still a contender, and a little bit of the disrespect that I think's been putting on their names. A little disclaimer before we get into this. Obviously, I'm a Lakers fan, as you can see by the background, and if you've watched my older videos. And I was a Clippers hater the whole last year because they talked a lot. There was obviously that beef between the two LA teams. So, you know, I was definitely right in the middle of all of that in terms of, you know, being a supporter of the Lakers. I hated the Clippers. I have a mate who likes the Clippers. We always went back and forth about it. Obviously, it's all basketball, but there definitely was, you know, that Lakers-Clippers beef. But what I've been noticing is when people are talking about the Clippers now, especially going into next season, is there's a lot of disrespect. Obviously, to do with the 3-1 lead and the second round exit they blew in the playoffs last year. But I just feel like there's a lot of disrespect. I feel like people aren't respecting them as a contender still. I feel like people have just discredited them and pushed them to the side because of what happened. I've seen some power rankings. I think it was Kendrick Perkins. He put the Clippers as his 10th favorite team to win. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, come on. So yeah, this video I just want to talk about the Clippers and break down a few things about them and how I think they're still a massive contender and how I think they're getting extremely disrespected and overlooked. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe. We're on the road to 1K, so please subscribe. If you watch my videos and you love the NBA, join the movement and hit that subscribe button. I'm also going to give you guys 5 seconds to like the video. Sweet, you liked it? Alright, cool. Let's try break 10 likes this video. Come on, you guys can do it. But yeah, let's get straight into it. The first thing I want to talk about is what they lost and what they gained. So they've lost Montrezl Harrell, Shamet, JaMychal Green, and they've gained Serge, Kennard, and Batum. Obviously, there's a few more players I've lost and gained, but I'm just talking about the players that will definitely make their rotation and players that will be a factor in their rotation and in the Clippers' success. So they've lost those three in Harrell, Shamet, and Green. And I do think that they've replaced what they've lost with Serge, Kennard, and Batum. I do think that obviously Montrezl Harrell's a 6th man of the year, but I do think for the Clippers, Serge is an upgrade. He's got the chemistry of Kawhi. He can also stretch the floor. He's 7 foot, so they're not going to have that same problem with an undersized Montrezl Harrell. And I'm assuming they might still start, what's his face? They might still start Zubac and then bring Serge off the bench. Sort of like what the Raptors are doing with Gasol and Serge. I'm assuming that might be the case. I think that will be really solid for their second unit to have Serge. Especially imagine, you know, Serge running with Lou Will. That's going to be big. So yeah, I think Serge over Montrezl Harrell's an upgrade for the Clippers. I do think Luke Kennard over Shamet's an upgrade. They're both good shooters, but Kennard's a lot taller. He's definitely showed he's more of a sharp shooter than Shamet, or at this stage in their career anyway. So I think Luke Kennard's a big upgrade. He's more able to play shooting guard and small forward compared to Shamet. Shamet could play small forward, but he's a bit undersized. So I do think that's an upgrade. And Batum over Green now, JaMychal Green. I think JaMychal Green was a really solid player for them. He got the 15 mil for 2 years by the Nuggets, so he definitely deserved that. We haven't seen Batum play too much. Well, I haven't actually really watched him play in a few years, it feels like. But he'll definitely still be solid off that second unit. So overall, I feel like they've slightly improved with the players they've gained compared to the players they've lost. The next thing I want to get into is the coaching. Obviously, they don't have Doc Rivers anymore, and they've got Tyronn Lue. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out. I don't have too much of a strong opinion on that. I do think they needed to move on from Doc just because, you know, I feel like just maybe for like sentimental value, just like, you know, Doc hasn't had success in the Clippers. He's had some extreme talent, so I feel like it was the right time to move on. Tyronn Lue has won a championship. It was with LeBron though, as we know, was pretty much the coach and the captain on that team anyway. I don't think Kawhi has that same effect, but let's give T. Lue the chance. I think that hopefully he can improve them and get them better chemistry and stuff compared to what Doc did. And the next thing I want to talk about is they still need a point guard. Reggie Jackson, they brought him back. He is talented enough to do it, but I feel like he's still more of a scorer mentality. I don't know, maybe things can change in their training camp. They're like, yo, just facilitate the ball, just pass. We need you to play make, especially on that second unit. So strictly do that. I don't know if they've said that to him, but I do think that they needed Rondo. In terms of if they got Rondo, I would have been so scared of them. Obviously, Rondo, he did play extremely well in the playoffs, but he's not the Rondo he used to be. But I just think he was literally their only missing piece. If they added Rondo and Serge, I would be really worried about the Clippers, and it would be interesting to see if people would have them. It would be interesting to see if people gave them more respect if they did have Rondo. I do think that they really missed out with Rondo, and getting Reggie Jackson back was fine because he wasn't too much options, but they definitely did miss out on Rondo. And the next little thing I want to get into is I do believe that Marcus Morris, Patrick Beverley, and Tyronn Lue need to be the heart and the soul of this team. Obviously, you've got the talent with Paul George and Kawhi, who we'll get into in a bit, but I think those three, Morris, Beverley, and Lou Williams, they need to be dogs, and we'll even add Serge into that list. Those four need to be like the heart, the continuity of the team. They need to build the chemistry along with the superstars, and if they can all get that clicking, I think that that's going to be extremely beneficial for the Clippers. Now moving on to Paul George. Obviously everyone has their jokes to say about him. I still think he's obviously still a solid player. He was second or third in MVP voting 2 years ago of OKC, so we do need to put a little bit more respect on Paul George's name. Obviously he did it to himself by calling himself Playoff P and throwing the ball at the backboard in the playoffs. But I just think that was a lot of to do with the bubble and his mental state. I'm not going to fully disrespect Paul George and what he's capable of just based on that portion of basketball we got given. I do think that he does need to step up though and prove himself. He did come out and say that Doc Rivers was trying to use him as like a JJ Redick or a catch and shoot shooter, which does make sense because when you did watch the Clippers games, it did feel like he was just catching and shooting or trying to get a shot really quickly. I do just think that with Tyronn Lue now as the coach, he's going to use Paul George to his maximum potential, and I do think that Paul George needs to step up, and this could be like a redemption season for him, so I feel like he's going to be head down and he's going to try to get the work done. And lastly, Kawhi Leonard, their Lord, their Savior, their God, their everything, Kawhi Leonard. With Kawhi Leonard's still a top 3, top 4 talent in the league, in my eyes anyway. Definitely 100% should be in everyone's top 5 in the NBA right now. I think he did what he could. Obviously, he only scored 2 points in that last half in the Nuggets game, in the Nuggets series, and that's the last we've seen from him at this point. But I do think that Kawhi Leonard, he does lead by example, and he's got all the talent in the world. But when he's won championships, he has had Kyle Lowry, he has had Tim Duncan, he has had Tony Parker, he has had these like leaders, these vocal leaders on the court. I think he's a leader in terms of he's the best player, especially on the Clippers team. He's the best scorer, he's the best defender, so he does lead in that way. But I just think he needs to turn into more of a vocal leader and try to influence and push everyone. Just try to bring all the team together, because there was a lot of back chat about, you know, him getting superstar treatment and Paul George getting superstar treatment. And obviously we did know he liked to load manage, and they tried to blame that on the knee. We all know it wasn't a knee injury. He had the problems in the past, so I'm not acting like he was milking it fully, but he was definitely milking it a little bit, just trying to stay ready for the playoffs, which we ended up having 3 months off, so that all turned irrelevant. But yeah, I do think Kawhi Leonard needs to step up in terms of, not in terms of his play, but in terms of just being a vocal leader. I don't know if he's capable of that. The man seems like a robot and doesn't talk, but yeah, I definitely think that Kawhi he needs to take that step up with the new coach in Ty Lue and these new extra few players, just to keep the Clippers as one of the main contenders. But yeah, that's pretty much that for the video. Overall, my main point is pretty much just the Clippers should still be looked at as a main contender. I think we're still going to have the LA vs LA Western Conference Finals this year, hopefully. We didn't get it last year, and I feel like that was the peak of all the talk. But if we can get it this year, that will still be fire. I do definitely think that the people should still have the Clippers as their top 2, top 3 favorite team. I'm still taking the Lakers over them, but I can't think of another team I'd put over them. Like maybe the Bucks, but we'll have to see, and maybe the Nets, but we'll have to see. But yeah, moral of the story is, coming from a Lakers fan and an ex-Clippers hater from last season, give the Clippers their credit, man. Like, we obviously seen them, they did terrible last playoffs, but that stuff happens, man. Like, nothing's perfect. So yeah, let's give the Clippers a chance, and let's see how they go into next season. Make sure to like and subscribe, and leave your guys' comments down below on what you think about the Clippers, and if you agree with me or if you disagree with me and you think that they deserve all this disrespect. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 1K. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.